going on, guys? Alexander Thomas here. Welcome back to Sports Hour. This is season 2 of Sports Hour. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and look at just what's going on with Sports Hour this year. So, I did do this last year, and the way it worked was that there were 32 teams, and 32 teams basically responsible. But the problem was there wasn't really any way of actually doing anything for the teams. So you had basically you could see what happened and everything like that. But what I decided to do is this year is I added 8 teams, so there's 40 teams now, and we're gonna go over everything about the NBL or in the Sports Hour series this year. Yes. So this is Sports Hour. What will happen is there is a few things that are completely different, guys. Like previous year, I had 18 games in season. There's not 18 games in season anymore. There are a total of 16 games in each season. So the 18 games that we had previous seasons are being reduced a little bit. That was so I could actually figure out how to make this work. And we should go to this is the pre-draft version of this. I may have to go back again. So basically, here's the deal. You can be in charge of a team. And there are a lot of teams that you can be in charge of. Yes. All it requires is that you go to. I'm gonna go to the thing, please. All it requires is you send an email to the NBL. Trying to see if I can get to the link for it. You have to go send it. You'll send an email. I don't think it's showing this right now. No, it's not. Get that up. Send an email to you'll send an email to nblsportshour.com at gmail.com. Once I can figure out how to get the thing to work. And so what will happen is there's going to be there are quite a few teams. In fact, there are a total of 40 of them. And each team is going to have the ability, each team, to become that team's manager, as the best way to describe it. Now, in the previous season, there was 32 teams, and there were teams. Each division had 4 teams in it. Well, there's 5 teams in each division this time, and the divisions are as follows: the NBL North will consist of the Panthers, Cardinals, Legends, Knights, and Dogs. The NBL South I'm not going to read these, but there it is: the NBL South, the NBL West, the NBL East, the ABL North, the ABL South, the ABL West, the ABL East. And there are 5 teams in each one of them, and their objective will be to get top. Now, the way playoffs work are going to be a little different because the way it works normally during for the NFL, which I originally based the first one off of. The way it worked was that the top 7 teams got into it, and the way it worked then was that you got one. You had 7 teams. One team got a bye, the team A. That's the way it works now, anyways. One team got a bye, and and then there's 3 games in each the first week for each side of the conference. The playoffs will still be very similar. The playoffs will include the top team for each division. So that's 18. That would be 4 teams, and then the next 4 best. So, for example, we'll just say it stays in this order: Panthers, Foxes, Dragons, Bulldogs, Hogs. That would make the playoffs of the NBL North. Then you have 2 other teams. Let's just say the Indians, Bears, and then we have the Hawks and Cardinals. Let's just say that those teams will face off against each other. And I think I have the way of getting to that. Let me see here. It's in the basketball current one. Here it is. The playoffs are going to be arranged like this. There are 8 teams, and then you're going to have it like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, that's 8. Uh, 6, and then fart. So, like the previous one, that's how it's going to work. And the highest players will still make it to each one of these. And I was going to copy that over here. And that's the wild card divisional championship in the Ball Bowl. And all these will be best of 3. So right now, if you see below, you got there's 2 links to Google spreadsheets, and I believe it should work right now. I'm under the same account, so it wouldn't matter. If you go to those links, one of them is going to show you the draft, and we'll talk about the draft in a second here. The other link is going to take you to the team rosters. And so if you wanted to decide which team you want to get, I'll show you the team roster. That's the picks. Let's see here. So one of them is going to show you the team rosters. I gotta find which one it is though. Alright. It's called Basketball 21 here. Let's see if I can find that one here. And you'll get this sheet here. Now, some of these things are hidden. I will point that out, but I'm not going to show you what those are because they aren't relevant. You can see the records for the divisions you can see the playoff records for the last couple years. You will also see that there are a few teams that do not have any reference whatsoever, because those are the ones that have NAL for most of the games. Those are the teams that have not played in the instant at all. You can see, like, for example, you can see the Panthers have won a lot of games of the last ones. You can also see that certain teams that do not have any very good records overall, like the Pirates, or like the Falcons, for example. Just picking one off the hits. You can also see the ones that have a good and some record, and you can see any time they've been to the playoffs. So, what it'll see is the first year they were in the playoffs. That will be 100%. Yes, you can see the entire thing. Then every year after that, you'll see 0, 2, 0, 3, whatever it is. So, for example, I'll also explain this. For the first quite a few years, up till 2016, I believe, there were actually 2 seasons in each chance. So that is not relevant anymore. There were actually 2 seasons. Now, starting in 2017, there's only 1 season, and there's only going to be 1 season through the playoffs here. And you can also see when the team was founded, how many times that team has been to the playoffs. Also, that doesn't have any relevance. You can also see some of this. This doesn't really have any relevance, but the most important thing for you guys to see if you want to do this will be the playoff units. Let's say, for example, you want to take control of the Panthers. Here's the roster. There are a total of, wow, I thought that was 20. Let me just make sure I'm right on this. Yeah, so, oops. Look for some. The total, yeah, there's a total of 20 different versions for each one. Current maximum is 20. And you also have to pay salaries for that thing, but that doesn't really matter as much in this video, because what will happen is once you come into a team, and I'll go to this list right here, they'll have a bank. The more they've won, the more money they'll have generally. Let's say it's 10 minutes. And every team will be charged $5,000 at the start of the season. Now, you do not need to pay anything for this. It doesn't make a difference for that. So it's this is a completely free thing to do. Yes. What will happen is we'll talk about this a little bit in a second here. The more you do, the more trades you make, the more picks you have, you try to get. Yes. Every team is charged $5,000 at the beginning of the season, and once the season starts, you automatically get that deducted from the amounts. The better you do in the season. For every game you get $10,000 added to your team bank. So that's why the Panthers have so much compared to what their units. Colts have quite a bit too, but that's because their owner is their current manager is pretty rich and all that. They actually have not been to the playoffs very often if you go back to the thing, but the Lions have a lot because they just made it to the playoffs. The more games you win, you get $10,000 for every game the games that won this season, plus an additional $50,000 for the game. For the plus units. I've already added the $50,000 to all of them, except for this one. I didn't do that one. Look at that. There we go. That should be right. So that is the total amount. That's how much you guys would have to, if you are owning the team, you get to do that. You do not pay. You don't need to pay anything for that yet. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit here. Roster. We'll talk more about the draft in a second here. I can go and close out, can't I? And then there's also scheduling, seasons, all that. The team that does the best, the top team that does the best overall in the season, will be the team who gets into the playoffs. And then the top 4 teams after that also get into the playoffs. It's similar to how the playoffs works for the NFL. Yes. That's basically the same. It's the same thing. Otherwise. All right. Now, games are automatic 5,000. You automatically lose 5,000 automatically for each one of these. Every year. Any trades that you do make could cost you up to $1,000 for your bank. And the same thing for picks if you do trades. If you don't do any trades, it costs 0. All right. So if you just keep the picks you have, it doesn't cost you anything. All right. Now we're going to talk about. I'm going to go to the NBL total of conduct. These are the teams you have. Welcome to the NBL National Basketball League. That's not really. It's not right. You're looking at the code of conduct. If you may or may be interested in a team or becoming a manager of one of the NBL teams, and there's teams here. That's actually not what it's called. It's called the ABL and the NBL. Oh, that's the ABC and the NBC. That's because the National Basketball League is the entire thing. All right, so if you want to be a manager of a team, you can do this. In time. Yes. First thing you have to do in order to do that is send an email to will be this account. I have Gmail set up on this thing, so I can yet. This is the only place you're going to get anything for that account. And I'm not actually making YouTube. This is not a YouTube channel. So this is everything's going to come through this channel. First thing, you go to send an email to this and say you want to be manager of a team. And you can pick your team if you want to. I don't know what it is. But everything does have to be done by 12/20/22, which is a little 2 months and 2 weeks away for right now. That way I can make sure I have everything is. And that way I have enough time to respond back to you and say, okay, you have this team, or I say you need to take a different team. And if you do send me an email prior to this date about being a team needs, I will do my best to make sure that you get a team. And then you'll confirm. Yes, you'll move to the second step. The second step is that you'll watch this on this channel for any information, for any videos on this. You can participate in the NBL draft. We'll talk about the draft in a second, and then you'll make this codes using the code 344, and you also need to pay attention to your team. I'm going to say this, you do not have to pay too much attention to this. If you check on it let's say once a week, that's fine. That's all we need. Now, when the NBL draft comes out, there's 4 rounds. And the NBL draft, do I have that one up here? Yeah, it's gonna look something like this. Here's also how the draft works. Okay, the teams that have this is pick 1. This is pick 40. And the way and you might ask, like, hey, wait a minute. So the teams that have these teams, why would I ever want the Panthers or the Lions or Brown Giants? They're never gonna have it. Well, the reason why they're like this is because of the fact that the teams that did better in the last season I had were gonna have had a later pick. So if you really want to have a team have more advantages, then you want to be one of the first eight teams. But there's disadvantages on that as well. The advantage to having a team like, let's say, the Hawks, for example, is that their roster's already kind of filled. So you don't have to do anything in the draft if you don't want to. You do have to do something. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you do something like the Legends, that's not how Legends is spelled, then you're gonna have then they're gonna have a pretty much full team. I'll go ahead and get to that roster here in a second. Like if you look at these teams that have a variance, you will see that Legends actually have more of a variance, but they've already signed certain players. But you get some like the Lynx. They have not over players. They have a decent starting team around. But you have also a team that has nothing like Foxes. They have nothing in the ground. You'll have the ability to get players without with more players than just not including the draft. And you can also trade with other players or other teams. Until a team is managed by an advantage, I will be basically in charge of making trades. Trades can include, but are not limited to, picks of this year, not next year. For the following year. Let me see if I have that. Yeah, here's the draft picks. I don't know why I'm showing you that. That's not relevant. But that's basically it. So you can, off of the draft here, you get your picks and insurance. The better they have their hits. Now, in previous years, I actually just kind of did it so that it was this first one was 1 to 40, and this one was 41 to who knows whatever. But I decided to change that now, so it's now more like just like the NBA, like the actual NFL draft. Now you might ask, why is there extra block here? There is, so you can, before the certain date, you can go ahead and make trades with other hits. For most of the time, I will likely be doing the person that is hits. And just because you, how to say this, don't make it before the 20th, it's because you don't get it by the 20th doesn't mean you won't get hits. It just has to be before the NBL draft, which starts on the 1st of January. The draft will be live, and I'm currently working on anything because in the case that that the team does not get out. So you'll be in charge of the team anyways. Here's how it works. Code 1. So you'll send an email. You'll receive an email back from sportshour.com asking you to side with players. You will need to send back the top 10 list of the NFL draft, and that is linked below. Right? That's the other one. It's gonna be the first one to get to here. That shows you all the picks for the teams and also hits. And that's gonna be the thing. So you can do that, and and you need to be able to send this before December 31st at 12 p.m. That means noon. on noon. Yes, and that date, just to check, is a Saturday. NBL draft will occur on Sunday and Monday. And it'll be at night. It'll start at 10 p.m. It may start earlier. The second round may start a little bit earlier depending on how long it takes for rooms. I will do the first and second rounds. And I may move that back a little bit, actually. What I might do is actually just separate, like, depending on how round one takes one, and I'll tell you guys at that point, say, okay, we're going to split this into 4 days instead, so that that entire week will be, so instead it could be the first, second, third, fourth for the days. It depends on how long round one takes. If round one doesn't take very long, and it shouldn't take very long unless I somehow get 52 different people to be a manager. And it should be fine. I'm trying to make sure I get all the things up here so they know it worked. All right, so then we have, once you review it, yes, you do need to be, if you are going to be, if you do not send your 10 picks, you can do it live if you want to, but you'll have only 5 minutes to do it. That's the thing. There's going to be a limit of time how long you have to. If you don't send your picks in. Now you can send your 10 picks in or more names. You can do as many as you want. You could do all 300 at 160 if you wanted to. Oh, I want to pick this order. I'll copy them into a document off the camera and say, okay, that player was already taken, that player was already taken, and you could do all 160 if you wanted to. But once the playmaker is picked, it will be off limits. It can't be picked again. Alright, the season. We're going to go more with that in a second here. But each season is 16 games. There are 20 games each week. And the games will happen Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and all games will be finalized by 9 p.m. on Monday. The final game is at 5, officially. These games are not shown live, and the games will last about 1 hour and 15 minutes. So they could be shown in the context, and I'll have another document come out that says these games happened, and that's what happened, and that's what they're in the third time score. And you will see that if you go to the NBL and one of these things, that will be, apparently forgot to take this one off, but you'll see the scores updated by 9 p.m. on Monday. They can be updated earlier, but they're not going to be updated any later than 9 p.m. That's the whole basic thing here. Back to this. So here we go. Now, you may make trades. There's no rule saying you cannot make trades. These are some examples of what could happen with trades. You have to send an email to the NBL at sportshour@gmail.com. Otherwise, the trades are invalid. They will not happen because I control minutes. And you will see. Actually, I will be updating this thing. As soon as I finish the stream, this thing will be updated and open. But you can make a trade. For example, here's a trade you can make. You could do when you'll say a trade, this is what you'll do. You'll send it to email and say, okay, I want to make a trade. Angels, Vicar Keogh, and pick 32. You don't have to do that. And then for this player, and that's all you gotta do. That's literally it. Then what I'll do is I'll communicate with the person who's the manager of that team, if there is one, and say, okay, is this do you want to make this trade? And they have 3 options. They either can decline it, and then I'll send an email back to you saying, okay, they didn't want to do this trade, or they will send a counteroffer and say, okay, I don't think this is fair, but maybe this one will be better, or something in that effect. Or they can accept, or if they think it's a fair trade, they can accept it. Off hands. You can trade picks, money from the bank. That is this thing again. And players. And/or players. I should point out, and/or players. Players, friends. Trades must be made within the day between October 1st, that is today. So if you happen to be a team player, trades have to be happening today and up to February 18th. And that is February 18th. Let me just make sure I'm right about that. February 18th is a Saturday. If the pick is made on the 18th, and that is it. That basically, there's no answer. So on the 19th, there will be a possibility of doing trades. I was replying to say, hey, unfortunately, the trade block has closed. But the 25th may be the last. You may still receive emails if you do make a trade on the 18th or before. You may receive emails up to that point because I have to make trades. Must agree upon you and the person you trade with, if there is a measure of a team. And if a trade is accepted, I will fix it, make sure it's right in it, and you and the player in it, you have accepted this trade, basically. But there are some things about trades that are kind of a little weird and maybe a little bit less wanted. So here's the deal. Depending on the level of that player, that is the rating. And if you go back to these, you'll see that each player has a rating. And the rating is what level they are, and it's also by school. So, and let me see if I think I've already got it over here. Yeah, here it is. Here's the rating. And honestly, I don't really need to tell you what A- and A+ is because that doesn't matter. And honestly, there are no players that have an A+ rating. There's no players that have an 100 overall rating. That doesn't happen. If anyone has at least a 71 overall rating, they're considered an F. There's the rest of them. I don't believe there's anyone physically possible for it to have an F- rating. I don't think that's possible. There are some players that might have an F in the draft. I think it's like 68 is like the lowest in the draft. I may be a little bit wrong about that. But that's the answer. But depending on the rating, that will be how much it is. So if they're A, it will be 93 or 93 to 100, 93 to 99. They'll have a trade value of 4. And the same as insofar, and you can look at the ratings about that. I may update that and just let you guys and show you what the ratings are after this video, after the stream's over. But for each point difference, it costs $250 additional dollars. Okay, from the bank. Don't worry, I'm not gonna say, hey, you got to pay $250 if you want to make that trade. No, it's $250 from the bank, and that's where these fees come from. It's minimum $5,000 just for the stadium, and then trades could be up to $1,000. Because, for example, you could potentially I don't know why anyone want to do this, but you could trade your F-rated player to something for a 1 point answer, and like, okay, yes, okay, I'll make that trade. I get a player, I get a ranked player, and I get your F ranked player, or you get your F ranked player. Cool. So there's a little bit of a fee for that. That's not everything. But here's some we're gonna look for examples for this. Now the first example we have is Angels Victorino for Panthers United. Now Victor is a 97 overall. I'm not gonna go back to the thing, but I confirmed that he is a 97 overall, but he's a point A. He's a ranked player, which is a 4-point rating. Alex Aaron is an 83, which is a 3-point rank. So it will cost $250 to get that player. And that will be put into a trade pot, which I don't know what that will be at this certain time. I'll go and put that in here. It's trades. So if you want to make a trade, as long as the players are between, let's say a player is 90, it's 90. I want to make sure it's right here. As long as the player is at least a 93, and I think it's 90 now, but as long as they're in the same range, there's no fee for it. So, for example, this one's not having 50 yards because it's a high-ranked player. If you do example 2, we got Lions Warren Cobb for the Dragons, who is 99. You got 99 for 86. But they are also offering a pick for it. They're offering it. Now, the cost was still... So the cost is changed. So since they offered a pick, the player, it doesn't matter. It's $1,000 right automatically. Because you want to pick. Picks are valued at weird. And then players. So great, I'm going to give you my player, but you're going to cost $1,000 because I'm getting a 99 player, which is a benefit. In fact, that's basically what happened. You can do as many picks. I think you can do as many picks if you want to, but it doesn't really matter. In this case, 98 is a value 3. Here's the thing for it. So it would cost $1,000, and there's no cost for picks that are the same value. So, for example, 3. If I were to give you this, 75, or I will give you a 75 pick and a 155 pick for a pick 7. The values are the same, so there's no cost for that trade because they're similar picks. And then but there's another example. Here's example 4. If I wanted to give you pick 27, which is the value of 4, the odds gave me 112, 114, and 674, which is a total value of 5. It would cost $250 to make that trade. That's the difference. But here's, when a manager offers a trade for another team for a response, counters, accepts, declines, must be made within 7 days. Okay, it's going through me. I will go as quickly as I can. You will probably, if, for example, let's say you send a response about making it, let's say at 4 o'clock. You can probably, or anything before 5 p.m. You won't see one response back until probably the next day, maybe even 2 days. But in the case there's no manager for that team, the NBL head, which is me, will decide the outcome, and then I will make sure it's fair. But in any regard, you have to make sure. In any regard, you have to do it very similar for it. Free agents. So there is a free agent list on the. Go back to the other thing here, please. On the Bass Minutes, you'll see free agents. these players over here are players that were not signed, were not put into the draft. You can get them if you want to. And it's actually anybody. All of them are star rated actually, but we won't worry about that. This will tell you their rating, and it tells you their age, all the age, and how many different. There are currently 106 people there, and then there's of course 26 here. So that is it. Now, here's the reason why you need why it's very important to tell their age. Because I have a separate document that I am not going to be showing you guys because it's not relevant. That will say, oh, these guys are retiring after this year. Because the requirements of this is that they cannot be older than 21. 22, if they've turned 21 during the season, that's their last season. If they turn 21 before the season, they're already gone. They're already done. So you'll see some players that have a range from as young as 12 all the way up to being 19, I guess, as the and they have their ratings. So you see that Max is not as a D-rated player actually. Why is he a D-rated player? I don't know. I think he's actually an F-rated player. So according to here is on. The events are slightly different. It's just going to be the L doesn't really matter. L just means it could be a legend if you really looked at it. So higher ratings are better in this case. And all the players over here will not be drafted this year. There's no chance for them. Poor Albert. He's only got 57 overall rating. But anyways, that's the basic idea here. And I don't want to take too much longer here. So let's go back to the NBL. Free agents. If you want to sign a free agent, all you have to do is send an email to the NBLSportsHour.com with the name and what your team name is. If you send me your name free, it's with the name of the player, and I will have if you're in charge of the team, I will have your thing on record. I will already know what your team is, so your team won't be necessary. But just to make sure, there are a few things about emails. When you email it, remember the following. I did remember the following. Be polite and make sure the trades are reasonable, not one-sided. If you do an one-sided trade with a player, with a person that team that doesn't have a manager, it's just going to be declined most likely because if I have to be in charge of that team. Otherwise, if you want to do it, I will accept it. But it will be it will send it to the player, but it will be unlikely to be accepted. Alright, now we're talking about Code 6. Code 6 is very important. This is the one, if you don't read anything else on any of these. Here's the free agent list of basketball. This is the code you need to read. If you don't read anything else. I don't need your signature, I don't need anything else, other than the fact that once you get this, I would appreciate when you send me back the hits, I will assume that you have read this. At least Code 6. You may not make any trades without the NBL heads, me, Spence, or of another team. Doing this will make the trade not happen, or it may not even allow the trade to occur. For example, let's say if you send a play to, let's say, another player you happen to have, you have to be friends with the owner of the Falcons, you're the owner of the Panthers. I have no problem with saying, would you be willing to do this for this player or whatever it is? That's perfectly fine. That's no problem with that. But but in order for the trade to happen, you have to send it through me. Otherwise, it will not occur. Second thing here, do not use any inappropriate language. If you use it, you will receive an email from me that says this is a warning for use of inappropriate language. The reason why I'm doing that is because there are kids, and there could be kids or kids that watch my videos. Couldn't tell you who, but just to make sure, I want to make sure it's appropriate, and I want to make sure it is appropriate. You will be, if you do give, let's say you use a word that's inappropriate language, and what I consider as appropriate language, it doesn't matter whatever else you do. If you think it's appropriate language, I will say, hey, this is probably not right for this channel. Then I was doing like, hey, I rather you not. Please don't use this language when you're doing this email. If you use the language, then I will send you an email and it'll say, basically, please don't use this. Don't use this language. And then we'll continue with whatever it is. And if it continues, means you've done it multiple times, I reserve the right to remove you from being the NBL. From being in charge of other events, if need be. I don't want to do that. I don't want to. And that is, if you violate any of the codes from the NBL code, which is this entire thing, then I have the right and the authority to remove you from managers of any teams. Now, I'm currently trying to limit it to one team. You can only have one team. But I'm giving you an option here. If you want to have multiple teams, I will give you an opportunity to express that. It will likely not be done. I will send you an email probably December 20th and say, okay, these teams are still available. If you want our team, you can. It just made it more difficult. But you'll need to send 2 emails if you do that, because that's just the way it's going to have to work. That works. Alright, one more thing here before we get to this. You see all these lovely names. These are all the tiers of the names. And there may be a little fun thing you might do with these names eventually, if you memorize all these. These names are all teams names that I've pretty much come up with, and I made the design. If you watch the beginning of the video, then you will see all the team names and all the teams. And they're all listed right here on the NBL list if you want to. Whenever an NBL list is coming, player parents, I will likely take an edit to this list and say TE. I'll probably say what I'll do is I'll probably put it in a different color or something. Like, for example, if the Panthers were selected, I would say I will say in another video that say, okay, this team is taken. No one else can get that team. This doesn't require very much at all, so it just requires you to be able to participate in the draft or some way and kind of manage a team. Now, granted, you don't have to, for all these things here, you don't have to do anything. If you don't want to, you don't have to. From code 3 through 5 are irrelevant. You don't have to if you don't want to. There's you can use it if you need to. Let's see. Now, in another video, not in this video because this one's already almost an hour long, I will actually go through every one of these season schedules. And if you want to, actually, I believe I already have this open, right? I don't think I have this one currently open, but it will become open once the season begins. So once I think it will become available starting at January 20th or December 20th. It become available at that time. I'm going to go ahead and anyone with a link. Can do this, and I don't know where the thing is. I'm gonna go and update that on the chance at the end of this video. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and up this one. I think we're also there. We go. Okay, so those are going to be open onto this video once I finish the streaming here. And that's pretty much it. This one, which is currently will not be available until after the December 20th. And we'll talk more discussions about this. But for now, that's pretty much all I have to do. But since we do have a little bit, I'm gonna give a few more minutes here. Yeah. Okay. So for the next few minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the every single name or every single flame that is, and just show you it again. Then we'll go, and then I'll end the stream right after that. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the end, and hope you will enjoy and hope to take one of these teams. Under your wing. And thank you guys for watching. If you want one of those teams, if you want one of these, be in charge of one of these teams, you can go ahead and send an email to that is open. And after this video is over, I'm going to add the two links to this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you, and don't forget to keep your game on.